You are in for a special treat. I am interviewing a unicorn. Well, she's a urologist, but she is an absolute specialist in her field and is recognized as such. The one, the only Dr. Diana Londoño. Hello, hello. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's always just a pleasure. I mean, this is really a treat. And I know last time I had a really bad infection in my eye, so I don't have one today. So we're just winning. But just really, I'm just so grateful to be here and get to speak to you, learn from you. Like every time I read something from your post or I talk to you, it's just learning so much. And I am just so grateful to really just be here today. It's a treat. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's right. This is the second interview I've done with you. And we always just have such a good time. So, what I love about your approach, and what makes you so different, you're a mind, body, soul kind of a doctor. You believe in that whole person care, and that's what drew me to you and to your content. And for everybody's benefit who's listening, Diana and we met on LinkedIn, and our connection grew, and we've been friends ever since. But what really drew me to your content was the depth, the soul reaching depth of your posts, and also your empathy. It really shines through. You paint such a beautiful picture with your words and your posts that I can almost feel it and experience it. So kudos to you on that. But I love the work that you're doing for your community, and for other physicians as well, Diana. It's amazing.
Well, thank you for those, kind words. Somebody yesterday told me, "Oh, I feel like I've known you forever," just because I read your post, because it's kind of like my diary where I just really process my emotions by writing. And that is one of the ways that really helped me get out of burnout. And, burnout is a pandemic, not just for physicians, but for every field and specialty. We are drowning in stress. And one way to really get out of it, and your book actually, which I love, is it gives a lot of great examples of how to really not only get confident but get out of burnout by really connecting to a higher purpose, which is your last, the grasp is a purpose, the gratitude. Those things are so important to get confidence. Of course, it's an absolutely real good side effect, but also get out of that molasses of stress and burnout. And writing for me has been really a great way to do so. And when I was getting out of burnout, I decided to write, and I never had really written anything that was even published. And if you don't start, you'll never get there. So starting, whether it's imperfect or not, you just start. And I started just writing. Things got published, and then I just write on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the platforms. Really, just as a way to process my emotions, but really connect with other people, because I think we all have very similar stories. We all want the same things: joy, connection, acceptance. And that's just what everybody wants. And, I think that's just one way for me to share what I'm going through and realize we're not that. We're very similar and what we want and what we're going through, no matter what field, what age, what country. It's really universal. So that's just one way for me to, again, connect in a deeper way. I personally do love deeper connections. I cannot do superficial connections. And whether it's friendships or patients or whatever I'm doing, it really is more of a soulful connection. So thank you for saying that. And that's why I actually like LinkedIn, because it's not a tweet, it's not like 10 words that I can't really express myself, and I'm a little bit more lengthy and verbose, but it's just the way that I connect. And so when people are attracted to that, I really enjoy it. So I'm grateful for that platform. I'm grateful for the people that, do find some value, some joy in it, and connect with me and reach out to me.
You've already got a book written, because all of your posts, you just take all of your posts and make it into a book. I think it's right there. But
Basically.
it's what you talk about, is burnout in the physician, in the medical community, right? For physicians. what that looks like, and the statistics are alarming, and I
Mhm.
think anybody can relate to burnout almost anymore, and which is sad, that so many people have experienced such burnout, but it's especially prevalent in the medical community, as you mentioned. But you used a word, and that word was molasses.
Right.
Burnout is like being stuck in molasses, like quicksand, like it feels like you're being dragged down. It feels like you're being weighed down, and then you can't quite move, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's really when you've experienced it, that's what it feels like to me. You're just stuck and it's heavy and you can't get out and you can't, it's just so heavy. And, why that is happening, it really is at a, cellular level, the changes that are happening when you're in chronic stress. These hormones in your body called cortisol, the stress hormones, just start just going, getting activated, and they really change your neurobiology, your chemistry to, again, the cell level. You are then unable to think clearly because that front part of your brain is called the cortex is really shut off. If they do imaging with MRIs, they'll see that that part of the brain just completely, the lights are out there, and then you can't think about solutions, ways to get out of the situation. When you are not in stress, and let's say you're in, Bali or Tahiti or anywhere, and you're relaxed and joyful, I mean, nothing really bothers you that much. You're like, okay, and you're able to think about solutions if something happens. But when you're in a stress state, it's impossible. And you just feel like everything is darker and darker and heavier. And it really is happening, in your brain and in your whole body chemistry. So when you then cultivate a way to be relaxed, to change your chemistry, again, going back to your book, gratitude is not just fluffy, fluffy woo woo. It's really changing the chemistry. You're stopping that cortisol when you're in gratitude. You then move to releasing dopamine, serotonin, the happy hormones, and you just feel much different. You're able then to, feel lighter, compute, feel more relaxed when you're in gratitude than when you're in stress. You people truly say, I can't think when I'm, worried or stressed, and you really cannot, because of those reasons. So it's so important to understand why you feel so heavy, and then what can you do to get out of it. And again, gratitude's a great way, cultivating a daily practice of stopping that cortisol from flooding your system. And then what are you putting your focus, your attention in? That's very important. Connecting to a spiritual practice, not a religious, a spiritual. I mean, it could be religious, but a spiritual practice. And that really goes into talking about, what am I grateful for? Yes. What can I be of service, in this world? What is my purpose? Those are spiritual questions, actually.
Yep.
And when you tap into that, your outlook in life, how you show up every day, it's very different. No matter what service industry or not industry you're in. I mean, you could be the cleaning lady, but when you show up to your job cleaning the bathrooms, how are you doing it? Are you being of service? Do you want it to be the best clean bathroom there is for everybody to use? And you do with joy and with purpose. That really changes, your whole day and your whole outlook in life.
Absolutely. Living with intentionality, living with purpose, and leaving it better than how you found it, right?
Mm,
And
absolutely.
what if we all did that? What if we all, and it doesn't have to be huge leaps,
Mhm.
it's these micro changes, like put away the shopping cart. Um, do something nice for your neighbor. Pick that piece of trash up. Just small things. Open the door for someone. And
Yeah,
then,
be kind, say I appreciate you. Look
yeah,
at people in the eye, smile at them. How many times do we just walk into Starbucks or anywhere and like just smile at the person and just say thank you. I really appreciate it. Just look at people. And that really elevates how they feel, how you feel, and it's a circle of actually good positive energy to look at people and smile at them. Look at them and say I appreciate you. That's very kind that you always have, the bathroom clean or this or that. That's so important. So I do love that small things are just as powerful. Think about a mosquito. It's a small thing, but how it can change your life, if you don't have a mosquito net. So it's so important that you don't have to make great changes, platforms, things. Small things are just as important.
Yes, they are. It's so key. But I love that. And now going back to burnout, this can actually help with burnout, right? And I kind of felt that on a micro scale last week. I had to reapply my own advice because guess what? I'm a human being too, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's important to say. I was feeling stressed out. I've got a lot going on. This book just got launched. I've got this podcast now. I'm thinking about all these things. I'm writing a keynote, writing a TED talk, and then it's starting to stack up. And then I think I reframe it in my mind and express gratitude and say, you know what? These are things I couldn't even dream of not that long ago. They were reach goals. Now I'm living them. So, it's important to reframe things, as you go through life. But then, if you're a physician and you're feeling the burnout and stress, even, taking gratitude, looking your patients in the eye, having a better one on one rapport with them and experience with them. Same thing with the staff, right? Same thing with everybody. These micro decisions of gratitude can actually help prevent burnout a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's sort of, I was on call. We have to take call, which means we're available, 24 hours a day for any call, emergency, hospital thing. I think since Thursday I've been on, and, I don't love it. It's something I have to do. Of course, there could be ways maybe to change it, but I still have to take it. And, when we approach the weekend or the time you're on call or whatever other situation in your life is, we
Mhm.
could all find something that is our favorite. It stresses us out. We don't want to do, but we may have to do it. How we approach it is so important because when I approach it like, oh, I hate this. Oh God, they're calling me. What do they want now? Why are you bothering me? It's not very helpful or great for anybody. But when I approach it as, okay, this is what it is. I have skills, thankfully, to then be able to help somebody that is scared, in pain, worried. How can I show up and be kind to them, help them, reassure them, and use my skills to really help people in a small way, in a huge way?
Mhm.
Whether you have a severe infection and I can do a surgery to really kind of save your life. Um, or I just not gonna do anything, let's say, but I'm just kind. I say, I understand you're worried, frustrated, angry. I understand that I would be in the same situation, in your situation. Just have that compassion and show up that way. It just really makes it more enjoyable that I had to take call because I know I'm being of service. I can be kind. Kindness goes a long way. And especially in this world where people are stressed out, angry, reactive, when you're kind, the way you say things, the way you explain it when somebody calls me, that is just how, we can really make a positive impact in the world. Just kindness goes a long way.
Absolutely. And too, being kind to ourselves.
Mhm.
Gosh, I think we're our own worst enemies sometimes, right? There's a reason that's a saying. But, we have all these negative thoughts. Um, sometimes we feel like life's pulling us in many directions, and this is especially true for physicians, right? Like you said, you're on call for 24 hours at a time, constantly, days in a row since last Thursday. But the good news is that, you can reframe it back to gratitude and say, how many skills do I have? How much use am I being to society? I'm so grateful that I get to contribute in a positive way, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that's beautiful, right? To just take any situation, even if we get stressed out or depressed, anxious, reframing it to gratitude really helps bring us in the present mindset, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And the part that you mentioned, with having so many things that you were, dreaming of and now they're becoming a reality, really is also stepping back and having that perspective and also thinking, I I also chose this. I mean, that was a choice, and we always can change and reprioritize things, or let go of some things, or add some, or reframe things, because things change. I mean, the only thing constant is change. But when things change, is okay. Now we're getting all these things I was dreaming I want to do. I want to do them, but I may have to reframe, change, reprioritize things, so that things start to become in balance again, because sometimes, yeah, it adds up all at once.
Mhm.
But we may have to make some changes. We may have to then ask for help in different ways, because there's more responsibilities or more time commitments. So important, no matter what field you're in, especially, for example, for physicians, ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. We are not superhuman. We are not robots. We sometimes just need to ask for help, because there are cycles, and there's times when things are busier and less busy. And so in those times, that's when we ask for help. And it's so important, again, when we sort of build that community, when there's highs and lows, so when there's highs, of course, everything's happy, go lucky, successful. But when the lows come, because they will come, you want to have that community, those friendships, to really rely on, to help you when things are in the low cycle. And so that's why it's important to have true, kind of deep relationships, that soulful relationship, where it's not superficial, and the people are just there when the good times are there, when you're successful, when everything goes well. I want those relationships to also be there when things will not be as good. And so it's important to cultivate those relationships, you know ask for help, and realize everything has a cycle. It's not all joy and success and happiness, and everything goes in health. There will be times when you're sick, when you don't feel well, when things didn't turn out the way that you expected, but we could probably learn something from those low times, those changes or challenges. So I think it's important to realize that part of life, those cycles that come and go.
I think that's so important and so right on the head. You mentioned something that's pretty powerful. You and I have talked about the law of proximity, but in my book I talk about it too. And for you to gain confidence, it doesn't matter if you're a physician or not. This is for anybody. Be conscious of the people you surround yourself with, that energy, right? Because
Hmm.
the people you surround yourself with are either going to build you up, or they're going to tear you down, or they're going to keep you the same too.
Hmm.
So, being surrounded by people that lift you up in good times and bad through those cycles and seasons of life, like you said, is so important for us to really feel like supported and appreciated. And, if you feel uplifted by the people you surround yourself with, you're far much more likely to achieve goals. You're far less likely to feel alone.
Yes, and
Down.
and also to grow, you have to have some discomfort. You can stretch yourself to be uncomfortable, to surround yourself with people that are, smarter, more successful, more joyful, whatever you want to get to that you're not at right now. Surround yourself with these people that you can learn from. Really, you may be uncomfortable, like you're not there yet, and you're kind of out of your comfort zone, but in your comfort zone there's no growth. So surround yourself with people, of course, that are going to uplift you. They're going to tell you you're awesome when you're having a hard day, but also that you can learn skills that you don't have right now, that maybe you do want to have, that really stretch you to discomfort, where you are the student, where you are not the expert anymore, because we were, truly are all students. Hopefully we're all students of life. We continue to learn. And I don't like the whole expert. I'm not an expert in anything. The day I am an expert, I hope I'm just going to die in this life, because like, what's the fun of it? I want to continue to learn, no matter what field. I mean, medicine, this, that, the other, whatever. And I want to be in a room where I'm really the newbie. I don't know enough about the subject or whatever I'm doing. And I'm really getting kind of tested and stretched and, pulled in. And that's where the growth is going to come. That's when you go to the gym, your muscles get sore, and then you start building that six pack. So you get that daily work to get to a different place where you're stronger, and it's just a different place.
I love that. I'm still waiting on my six pack, and I've been at this for a while. I think I need to. I think I need to up the game a little bit. I love that, and it's like, confidence, it is like building a muscle, and it's going to be uncomfortable at times. You're going to have to do things that are outside of your comfort zone where you feel like you're that learner, right? Um, and that's okay. That's like you said, it's called growth. We all need to do it, and do things that are outside of our comfort zone in order to get a different result. Listen, I mean, you can't be your most confident version of yourself, the best version of yourself, right? If you're not growing, it doesn't even make sense. You have to get outside of your comfort zone, right?
And I think when we like somebody asked me, I think yesterday, like, how do you deal with that fear? How do you face that fear? Because it kind of keeps us stuck when we're in fear. When you're in fear or worry, like I said, that part of your brain shuts off. You're stuck, or you're in the thick of the molasses when you're in fear or overwhelmed. But when you then tap into your why, and your why, your purpose is so strong, it doesn't matter if you're fearful, uncomfortable, you will do it. Like whatever you're trying to do, let's say it's social media and you are in videos and you're not comfortable and you're shy and you're more of an introvert, but you want to grow your brand, whatever it is. When your why is so important, it's like you will do it because the why is like what drives you. The why is your North Star. So we have to sometimes think about, because sometimes we forget or we don't know what it is. And we have to spend that time to really think about what is your why, what is your purpose, what are you really here in this earth to do in this lifetime, to really then get to that North Star, to get to that goal. Think about your why, your values, your beliefs are important to you, because then you can be aligned. Then you can have a roadmap, a GPS. These are the things that are important to me. This is what helps me. This is what's going to help me in that path. So then you can learn to say no to things that are not aligned, things that are not helpful, things that, drag you down. Maybe it's relationships, activities, whatever it is. Then you know what to say yes and no to. But when you have no idea, then you just say yes to everything. You're just like, okay, I'll do this. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, okay, that sounds great. Let me do this activity too. But when you have that path clear, knowing what you want, it's very easy to say no. I'm not going to do that, or no, thank you for this opportunity. It's just not something I want to do right now. It's
Mhm.
probably great, but it doesn't really align with my purpose, my passion, my values. So it's important to know that, spend time doing that. And if you don't know, I mean, a coach can be very helpful, but you don't have to have one. But it gets you there faster. It shrinks that time. So that might be a way to go about it.
I love that. Absolutely. Core values, they're a great compass, for life decisions, because the thing about it is it makes it really clear. It's either aligned with your values or it's not. And if it's not aligned with your values, then no amount of money is going to make sense.
Mhm.
Even if you experienced success, it's fleeting, it's temporary. And ultimately, it's also not fulfilling, right? And it doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't really help you in the long run. So, while it may take a little bit of time up front, to identify those values, your specific purpose, what you feel like you were made to do, may take a little bit of time. So much more time is saved, though, by you making the right decisions, but also the grief sometimes of making the wrong decisions, right?
Yeah, the suffering. I mean, you'll have that suffering because then you're like, say yes to things and you like didn't really want to, and then you're like added to your plate, and then now you're weighed down because you says yes to so many things you kind of were kind of wishy-washy on. And when you say yes or no to something, especially a yes, it should be like a hell yes. Like hell yes, this is absolutely gonna do it. If you're kind of like, "Ugh," or like you get the like feeling in your stomach or you kind of clench inside, that's probably should be a no. So again, if you don't know, you're just going to be kind of wandering in the breeze. So yes, it takes work, but the same way you plan a vacation, if you plan it and have things already kind of set in what you're going to do, it's just much easier, smoother than trying to figure it all then. And yeah, spontaneity is important, is good. Yes, I get that. But there has to be some type of roadmap to really get to any destination. So yes, it takes work, but is gonna, like I said, save time, like you said, save grief and less pain along the way.
Absolutely. And that goes back to the responsibility mindset of it all, you know. We have to
Mhm.
put these plans, and we have to, uh, have that strategy. It's so important. And it starts by knowing ourselves, not by living someone else's dream of what someone else's version of success looks like, um, or career or whatever. You really figuring out what you want, what gets you up out of bed every day, right? And like you said, if you say yes to something and then immediately feel like, why did I do this? Start really, start drilling down of what it is that you want. And you'll say yes to the right things instead of yes to just everything under the sun that comes at you. You'll be a lot more focused, and you ultimately won't waste time, but you start making those good decisions and compounding the effect of those good decisions as well. It starts to make you feel even more confident too, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And the part you talked about success, I mean, I think in this world, or even Western, but even the whole world, the definition of success is interesting. I mean, it's really money, and that's what success is. And maybe that is for you, and that's how you define your success. But the newsflash in reality is you can have tons of money if that's what success is to you, and you're gonna be miserable. You could be super skinny and you're gonna be miserable. There's plenty of actresses in LA who are beautiful and skinny and they're just miserable. So, this beauty standard or this money goal, looks shiny and pretty and what happiness is about, but it really truly may not be at all. So when we're always wishing to be here, there, and you're not in the moment, you're also going to suffer because you're not even enjoying the present moment, the joy of now and how things are, because that's all you have. You don't have the past. It already happened. You can't change it. So stop, worrying and wallowing about it. And the future is not here. Yes, you want that goal, that destination to get there. But the moment right now is that's where the magic is. That's where that is so important. So being present in the moment is key, I think, in my opinion. Also realizing what is success for you. And again, success is very different for everybody. And what you said about living your life, stop comparing, like, oh, what are they doing? What are they not doing? Everybody's different and is unique. And, just, make those decisions of what makes you happy, what is joyful. And again, maybe your compass is money, but really a newsflash, that's not going to be long lasting joy. It's going to kind of be like, oh, okay, well, now what? So when you infuse it with a purpose, a service to
Yeah,
the world to make it better, it's just so much, like the joy is just so much bigger because you're making those decisions every morning or you're getting up in the morning with that bigger purpose. Of course, money will follow, the success and the purpose, that really actually follows always when it's rooted in love and service. Success monetarily also comes, but when you are rooted with the wrong sort of like envy and greed and comparison, you probably will also get there. I know plenty of successful people that have lots of money and they're really miserable. And I'm not saying that everybody with money is unhappy. No, no, no. But there's plenty of people that don't have a lot of money who are super joyful. So it's not like that money's going to solve anything. And yes, you want to be driven to have more, you know, uh, flexibility when you have more money, you have more choices. I get that. But understand that whatever you're doing, rooted with love, with purpose, with service, and then the gifts really that come with that are just so much greater.
absolutely. And I believe that your service should contribute to the collective, right? It should uplift others. Your purpose is to serve mankind in some way,
Mhm.
and to elevate. Right? We elevate as a human body of all of us. I think that's really important too. So your purpose, nobody's purpose would be something negative. I just don't believe that. And it wouldn't be something even with competition. I think when we're aligned with our purpose, we're so uniquely equipped to handle things in a unique way, right? And
Mhm.
it doesn't have to look like somebody else's. It could, but finding that unique thing that just makes you feel happy, makes you feel joyful. It's so important. It really goes a long way in preventing burnout, loneliness, depression, all sorts of things, but also increasing your gratitude and confidence because you're doing something that it's easy for you, right? Don't you think? Like, I think about that a lot too. Sometimes your purpose is something that's easy for you, maybe hard for others, but it's something ultimately that it helps others in some kind of way, right?
Yeah, it's sort of is the ikigai, like where you join, what are you good at? What can you serve people? And yeah, it's like what are you that's also very good to think about, like what are you naturally maybe good at, in some ways, like maybe you're good at writing, maybe you're good at speaking, maybe you're good at connecting, maybe you're good at uplifting. I mean, what is your sort of gift that you have, because we all have them. And of course we also have things that are challenging, that we need to kind of stretch ourselves in. But those things that you're good at, really nurture that and say, I'm good at this, which is different than somebody else, but I have this gift that I know I'm very good at. So how can I use that then, again, to go back to that service, or that purpose with that gift that you have? You don't have to get complicated trying to make something that you're not as good at to make it to get to a point. Use the gifts you have, because we have them, and really, sprout from that, grow from that, and use that what you already have. I think that's a great point that you're saying. And I know you talked about in your book, you realize, like, what were you really good at already, and you started to share that with people, and you started to do that. And then your community grew, your friendships, your connections really started to grow. And you really talk about, giving value, whether it's your podcast, your post, like, don't just take, also like give, like what are you giving to others, instead of always taking or needing or wanting from others, like, oh, I want your following. But if you don't give support, but you always want support, that it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Whatever you want in the world, you gotta be that or give that first. If
Yeah.
you want support, you give support. If you want loving and kindness, you be loving and kindness. It doesn't work the other way around. So start with whatever you want in the world, to do that yourself first. And then it's like the lens you see the world and what you get back, because there's laws, there's a law of karma, there's a law of the universe. It comes back. So if you're unkind, if you're mean, if you're demeaning, critical, that's going to come back to you. And it's not coming back the same day or in 5 minutes. It may come back 5 years, 10 years, different lifetime. It will add up. So what you give is what you'll receive.
I love that. The law of reciprocity.
Hmm.
Give, give more. That was the first
Yes.
rule, I guess, of my book, right? The
Mhm.
power of what giving more can do. And just be a good human being. So, anybody who's listening to the show, that's a great takeaway. Be a good human being, practice the law of reciprocity, align with your gifts, lean into your purpose and your natural skill set, and listen to your intuition. But follow that moral compass as well, because ultimately that's going to help you make the right decisions. And if you do that enough times, the compound effect kicks in, and guess what? You'll become confident. I love this conversation, Diana. Thank you so much. My gosh, every time I talk to you, I level up just a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it really, I think your last sentence really encompassed your book. So, I mean, people that haven't bought and read it, like really, you have to do it, because it's simple concepts, but they're so powerful. I mean, just because it's simple, it doesn't mean there's no power in it. It's just so powerful. Those things that you talk about in the book, and about giving. And even my husband that doesn't like to read books, he was like, where's that book you said your friend wrote about, graduate? Where is it so I can read it? And I was like, oh, okay, which I was surprised about, because he doesn't usually read what I give him. But he really was like, oh, okay. Um, and again, these concepts, don't be fooled by the simplicity, because they are so powerful, and it really will change your life, how you feel. And I know somebody recently, posted that they read your book and they started to practice gratitude. It was a man, and they said,
Mhm.
"Oh, I wasn't sure about this, and I have this little book, and I started to write it, and yeah, I think it was 2 weeks only. They already felt themselves and people around them, how they were reacting to how they were changing, just their whole energy." And I really do prescribe this to my patients. I mean, apart from medications or surgery, I say, okay, gratitude. We're going to do a gratitude journal. And I say 6 to 8 weeks, or your money back. But no, really, 6 to 8 weeks of really doing this. And if you don't feel radically different, then like, let's talk. But I have not had anybody yet tell me it's not working. Maybe they don't do it, but the ones that do definitely have felt a big, big shift and how they feel, how they act, how they see the world. And when you start focusing on something, your brain is a big, powerful computer that wants to be efficient. So if you wake up and just listen to the news and which is riddled with fear and worry and anger and how everybody's out to get you, I mean, that's what the news does. It's trying to play in your emotions. And usually the emotion is fear and how, everybody is, you know, trying to get you really, and even how they the intonation, the cadence of the words, like here they come, it's very like, oh gosh, just listening to that in the morning, you're like, oh God, the world's falling apart. There's so much bad things. And there really isn't, but that's what they're focusing on, and they're trying to activate your fear center. And when you wake up doing that, instead of waking up with gratitude, maybe if you're spiritual, you pray, or you read some uplifting verse, or you meditate, whatever you do in the morning, it's a lot different than how you're going to start your day than when you start listening to the news and looking at the emails and getting stressed. That's just not a great way. When you start focusing on something, the mind follows the intention and the purpose. So if you start with gratitude, you start with spirituality perhaps, then the whole day your brain starts to scan the world for that, for the goodness and the gratitude and the good things and the happy things. But when you start listening to some news that are fearful and scary, you see that everywhere. You're like, oh God, look what happened today. And oh, look what she said. You really, again, is the lens that you put on the day. And so you've got to really choose the lens of the day so you can have a much different experience.
Absolutely. I love that. Words of wisdom for everyone to live by. Diana, I would love to know in our last couple of minute or so here, did you have a favorite part of the book? Something that really stuck out to you that you found valuable or helped you in any way?
That's a great question. I mean, a lot of the things you write about, I mean, I already practiced, but it was just nice to kind of hear it again.
Do it
I
again.
think to me, it's just a personal story. I mean, we all
Yeah.
connect to people through stories, not through anything else, but we are storytelling, human beings. And when you listen to, read somebody else's story, it really brings people together. And I think, a lot of the parts that you really, courageously, talked about with your upbringing, or when you're in the car, or when, you experience things with your family. I mean, it's like reading that was, it really like touched me so deep. And I'm gonna get even emotional, but it really, like how you said, oh, when you read my post, it's like it's soulful. Well, when I read that, it was so impactful. It really, you can't not feel love and compassion for others. You can't not see the other person, not just as a person, but as a soul, an evolving soul. So that to me was so touching. It's not like I learned something from it, but it just was so impactful. And I know it was very courageous and challenging, I'm sure, to write and re experience that, and really get that perspective. But that was really impactful for me. And I really, felt like just more of a connection, even more than we've had obviously before. So, you just really, when we look at people, we look at whatever that success is, or like what they've done and this and that, but we always just look at the top of the iceberg, not the whole thing that was below that. And, how we are kind of sometimes, rise from the ashes and are forged by fire and really come out of that. And how it is so important to, as a part of the book too, responsibility, radical responsibility. It doesn't matter what we came from or didn't come from. You could, everything could have been had for you in a platter, or you could have had a challenging upbringing. It doesn't matter. It's like what you do with today and what you want to do in the future. So whatever your circumstances were or weren't. Stop being a victim saying like, oh, well, I didn't have this, I didn't have that, my parents weren't doing this, that. It doesn't matter. Have radical responsibility. Stop blaming the world, people, your upbringing, your not upbringing, lack of money, no money, whatever it was, and really start to live the life the way you want to live. You know, if you didn't have family that was nurturing, it doesn't mean you don't have to do that for your own family. Then you can have that. You can break the chains of trauma. You can break those chains of generational trauma and really create the life for your children, for yourself that you want to. So that was really impactful. That is a huge message in the book, which obviously is not part of GRASP per se, but it is a real big message is, radical responsibility. Don't be a victim, and you can do whatever, no matter what you came from. So that was very impactful. That was beautiful. I just really appreciated that.
Oh, thank you so much. That's lovely. Well, you're an amazing urologist. Congratulations on your career and everything that you're doing in your life's journey. It's quite amazing to watch. Where can people get a hold of you? Because I know everybody's going to want to meet you after this podcast goes live. Where's the best place to get a hold of you, Diana?
Yeah, so I'm in most of the platforms and social medias. Diana Londoño, MD, like medical doctor. So you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, I think Twitter, YouTube channel. I do have some urological videos that I do that are simple and easy for like basic urological things like blood in the urine, or if you're gonna have a procedure, cystoscopy, biopsy, just explaining in easy language, kidney stones. So I have that because I am multidimensional. I just don't have one thing or the other. I'm also passionate about wellness, but I also, that's my day job, and I want to educate people in English and Spanish. These topics, so people know what's going on in their body and their health. And so I do that as well. So you can check that out. But my website too, dianalondoño.com, says more about my things I've done. Definitely just message me through there, any platform. Again, happy to connect if this is something valuable, if this is important to you, if you want to talk more about this, the effects of stress, how it leads to burnout, how we can get out of it, things you can do, tools, all that. I'm really happy to just connect with anybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, it was a pleasure interviewing you today. I'm sure this won't be the last one, but I appreciate you, and I know everyone listening will appreciate this as well. Thank you so much, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.